Alrighty, what's going on everybody? This is Brendan back again with another video, and today we are doing a quick 7.5-minute crash course on the Arri Alexa Mini LF camera. I was doing a quick camera prep yesterday for this camera for a shoot that I have coming up this weekend, so this was kind of a preliminary prep just to put all the accessories together, make sure everything worked properly, and pack it up in the van for travel to Arizona, which is where we'll be shooting this weekend. So yeah, so really exciting stuff. This is a really awesome camera. It was the camera that Roger Deakins shot the movie 1917 with, so it's really exciting for me anytime I get the opportunity to actually shoot on this camera and use it. This thing is a beast. It shoots 4.5K Arri RAW with a large format sensor, so that's kind of what makes this different from the normal Alexa Mini. Is it's a large format sensor using the new Lpl Mount, which I'll talk about at the end of this video, and it also uses a new memory system, the Arri Codex solid state drives, which come in 1 terabyte or 2 terabyte capacity. Yeah, so this is just a time lapse of me putting the rig together. So this rig that I'm working with today has like a standard Arri cage on it, and then a battery plate on the back, just a gold mount battery plate with some additional ports on it and stuff. But yeah, so I started out by just getting it on the tripod and then mounting the Teradek to it, plugging that in with the power and the SDI cable, and then as you can see, I just mounted the small HD monitor to the operator side, plugging that into the power and to the SDI as well. And I also mounted a nucleus follow focus to a 15mm rail on the top of the cage, which is really convenient when you don't have 15mm rails on the bottom. Now I'm attaching a shark fin battery plate to the back, and here I go mounting the SDI cable for the monitor. I'm also using a DTAP splitter to give me more DTAP ports for all the accessories. The shark fin battery adapter on the back is really nice to be able to double up on batteries and hot swap the batteries to keep the camera constantly running. It's really nice for that. So yeah, that's basically it. One more note about this build is, as you can see, I put a Cooke S4 135mm lens on the camera for now. That was just because we didn't have the lenses we plan on using for this shoot yet, which are the Arri Signature Primes, which are the Lpl Mount lenses. And so the only lenses we had on hand were these Cooke S4s just to go on the PL mount, but that's why I didn't actually finish rigging up the nucleus follow focus. So if you were wondering about that, then that's why. Anyway, let's get into the menu system. We're going to take a look at the EVF here. Pressing that top left button is how you access the menu from the video feed, so that's how you do that. And then as you can see, the menu looks like basically any other Arri camera. You press the adjacent button to whatever setting you want to adjust, and then on the back of the screen is a dial to flip through those settings, and then you can press the center of the dial to essentially enter in whatever you want. So you have add, delete, set, or cancel on each one of these settings. So same thing works for shutter angle. You press that button adjacent to shutter angle and you use that dial to navigate, and then I can cancel out of that. Same thing for white balance here. You can add more white balance settings to the list, delete settings, and same thing for ISO here. And just like the Arri Amira, this camera has internal ND. So I've basically set some of the camera user buttons, number 1 and 2, to adjust my ND increase or ND decrease. So when I hit those buttons, as you can see, it switches through the ND. I'll show you how to adjust those camera user buttons in a few minutes. Some other buttons you'll need to be aware of are the rest of the buttons on the EVF. So you have the first button there is like a zoom in button for focus. Then you have an exposure button. Both of those are pretty standard on all Arri cameras and self-explanatory. And of course you have a record button there on the EVF as well. Then you have a playback button, which is nice to just have just a standard playback button right where you expect it to be. In addition to that, you have the 2 customizable user buttons, and then the blue dial there, which will allow you to flip through the menu when the screen is closed and you don't have access to the other dial. So those are the basics of adjusting the camera settings. Now we'll dive a little bit deeper into the menu here. If you press that bottom left button, that brings you into the deeper menu. And we can scroll up to the top to the first menu, which is the recording settings. You can adjust your recording codec here, the resolution, the project settings, all the basic stuff. So in here, I'm going to do what I usually do, change the next reel count to 1, hit set, and that will allow me to have the metadata of the memory card read as 1 for the next memory card that's formatted. So we'll go to media next and erase the media. You do that by hitting both of those 2 buttons simultaneously. And so now that media will read as card 1. So I just like to do that. Good habit to get into at the beginning of a new project. There's a bunch of other settings here in the menu that I'm going to just glance over and kind of skip. This is the crash course, but I'm going to flip through them slowly so you can at least see what they are. Then we'll go to user buttons, and this is where we can customize both of the user buttons on the viewfinder and also on the body of the camera. So there are a bunch of customizable buttons on the body of the camera, and I like to set button 1 and 2 for ND increase and ND decrease. Like I said, button 3 is good. I like using that for playback, but I wanted to make sure I showed that to you because that's a really useful thing to know how to access in the camera. So if you press the top left button, then you can go back into the main menu and then press it again to go back into the video feed. So the last thing I just wanted to touch on in a bit more depth is the last thing that kind of makes this camera different from the normal Alexa Mini, which is the LPL mount. So as you can see, I'm pulling off a PL mount adapter, and underneath that is the LPL mount. LPL stands for large positive lock, so it's basically just a larger version of a traditional PL mount lens. And it's basically just used to hold larger, heavier lenses that are designed for this larger format sensor. So when I was preparing this camera build, I was using PL lenses, so I had to put on this PL adapter. So that's just something I wanted to mention, just so you're aware. If you're renting this camera and you're using PL lenses, you'll need an adapter for that. But that's basically it for this crash course. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.